我先用中文简单介绍一下，就是今天我们真的非常欢迎各位先生、各位女士，也非常欢迎我们的2位贵宾。等一下我介绍2位贵宾用英文的时候，我中文讲完你们不要拍手，我英文讲的时候你们再拍手哈，欢迎这样子。那我们今天主要谈的是全球现在艺术界开始关注档案，好。那详细的内容，我把时间就交给我们的主持人以及我们2位讲者。那今天呢，我们的主要的就是我们主要的题目就是说，档案如何决定价值。档案不是只是放在那边，最重要是我们要发掘它的 value 价值。那所以艺术家档案如何影响研究、收藏跟市场信任？所以我们今天真的非常荣幸邀请到我们的中华民国画廊协会副理事长张凯迪女士，以及台中市美术馆馆长赖一新馆长，还有来自香港 M+ 的典藏、收藏研究以及图书室的负责人我们的 Mr. Gogolos 高恪乐先生。那等一下谢谢。好，那我现在就正式用英文来开始讲，大家放轻松一下 ，OK？ Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us today for this special talk. Archives determine value, how artists' archives shape research, collecting, and trust in the market. This session will be conducted in English, so we invite you to use your phone to download or open the Translate app, and let's all participate in this lecture in English way. Thank you again and being here for taking part of this conversation. So now I would like to try to introduce our moderator, Mr. Katie Zhang. Mrs. Katie Zhang, sorry, okay. 张凯迪博士，我们欢迎她。And our speaker is the director of the Taichung Art Museum, Dr. Lai Yixin. And also, we have the speaker, another speaker from Hong Kong, Mr. Nickos Gogolos, Associate Director of the Collection, Archive and Library at M+. So now, I would like to hand this microphone over to our moderator, Katie Zhang, and to officially begin today's section.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Art Taichung 2026. I'm Katie Zhang, Zhang Kaidi, and it's my great pleasure to serve as a moderator for today's art talk. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us to focus on a topic that might sound a little niche at first, but in fact touches every artist, every gallery, and every collector here. It's artist archives. Some of you might be wondering, in an age of AI, short videos, and social media, when we are constantly surrounded by images and information, why are we talking about something that sounds so slow, so troublesome as archives? Let me begin with 2 simple pictures. The first picture is a global one. Over the past decades or so, in major museums and collecting institutions in Europe, in the United States, and across Asia, more and more exhibitions and research projects have been built on solid artist archives. From artists' letters, photographs, and manuscripts, to a gallery's exhibition records, press reviews, and contracts. All these seemingly fragmented materials ultimately shape 2 very important things. First, how an artist's place in art history is written and remembered. how convincingly we can speak about a work's provenance and credibility. In this context, the Taipei Art Economy Research Center, or TAERC, has been trying in recent years to play the role of a bridge. On one hand, we work with academia and take part in art, historical, and digital humanities research. On the other hand, we stand on the front line of the gallery and the market, seeing the very practical problems that professionals face in their daily work. At the same time, we stay in conversation with public museums and archival institutions. Put simply, we hope to bridge academia, the art field, and the art market so that archives are not just boxes sleeping in a storage room, but foundations that can support research, curatorial practice, and market trust. The second picture is our current situation in Taiwan. We live in a highly digitized environment where information moves extremely fast. Artists share their work on social media. Galleries promote exhibitions through online viewing rooms. Collectors move between cities, and artworks circulate across different exhibitions and auctions. In such a landscape, if we do not have a clear and stable system for artists' archives, crucial information can disappear very quickly. Where was this work first exhibited? What important reviews and discussions has it generated? What issues did the artist care about at different stages of their career? If these things are not properly organized and preserved, 10 or 20 years from now, when we want to curate a retrospective, conduct serious research, or reassess the value of an artist's work, we may suddenly discover that many pieces of the puzzle are already gone. So artists' archives are not an abstract, distant topic. They are a very concrete, immediate need. In an intensely digital environment, how do we make sure that what matters most does not get washed away by the stream of instant information? How can we ensure that the materials we keep today will continue to support research, collections, and market trust in the future? From my own position, this question has a third layer of meaning. I'm the second generation director of Apollo Art Gallery in Taipei, which was founded in 1978. At the same time, I teach art history at the National Taiwan University of Arts, with a focus on European art history. In the daily work of the gallery, I face very concrete situations. When a collector asks about an artist, what major exhibitions had this artist had? Can you tell me the story of this work's provenance? Where does this artist sit in art history? Is there any material I can look at? Can we respond in a short amount of time with a well-organized set of archival materials? This is not only about whether a sale happens or not. It is fundamentally about the professional trust that a gallery can offer. In the academic world, when we look back at 20th century of art history, when we write about a particular artist or curate a retrospective, we also feel very strongly that without archives, there can be no nuanced, in-depth art history. Without archives, the meaning and the value of many works remain incomplete. This is why today I hope to use my dual perspective as a gallery director and as an art historian to open up our discussion together with our two panelists. We want to ask, why do archives deserve to be reconsidered carefully here and now in 2026? What concrete roles do archives play for museums, public institutions, and private collections? And within the larger art ecosystem of Taichung, Hong Kong, Taiwan, how might we work together so that artist archives are not just a concept, but something that can truly be built, used, and continually developed in practice? In a moment, I will first invite Director Lia Yixin of Taichung Art Museum to speak from the perspective of a municipal museum. How Taichung Art Museum understands artist-related documents and archives, and what role they play in constructing a regional art history. Then we'll turn to Mr. Nickos Gogolos from M+ in Hong Kong, who will share how M+ as a museum of contemporary art places archives and collections on an equal footing, and how archival work is embedded in the institution's long-term structure. I hope that this next hour and a half will not only bring in new information and case studies, but more importantly, encourage all of us to reflect on one question: from where we each stand as galleries, as artists, artist families, collectors, museums, and researchers. What is one small step we can take to strengthen artist archives so that future research for collections and the market can rest on a more solid foundation? Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Director Lai to come to hold her presentation to share with us. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Thank you for the invitation by Katie and also Art Taichung. And I'm the director of Taichung Art Museum. And now I will spend about 15 to 20 minutes to talk about the idea of art archive and what are we doing right now. And the topic of the PowerPoint now is called Initiating Art Archive at the Taichung Art Museum. And the reason that I emphasize on the idea of initiating, it's really because we are in a still very early stage of doing this, because we only opened about 5 months ago, mid of last December. So we are still very new, and we are situated in the big building just next to this convention center. And it's an integration of Taichung Art Museum and Taichung Library. So it has a very special name called Museumbury that emphasizes on the integration and also the flow between the two institutions. And as Katie just mentioned, we are a city-run museum. And actually, I know that many of you must realize that there is a museum situated in Taichung for more than 30 years, which is the National Fine Art Museum of Taiwan. And it's run by the city central government. But Taichung Art Museum is really founded by the city government and also found by the city government. So one of our important mission is really to look closely of the meaning of greater Taichung art, and also to document and to research and to develop a more diversified perspective of the meaning of Taichung art. So but also we are, there are other missions for the museum, including to form the international dialogue with the international art scene, and also to develop the artistic energy in this really international and the city here. So as you can see that the idea of Taichung art history is very important in our core mission. And in our work teams in the museum, we also have one dedicated team that focus on the development of art research and collection. So while we are started to collecting artworks and do some more closely research on the idea of Taichung art history and to see what kind of artworks that is fit into our collection policy, we started to realize that the idea of art archive is very important, and not only to increase our knowledge and the understanding of artists' work, but also to understand more about, for instance, like the social relationship between artworks and artists at the time, and how they exchange the idea of knowledge, and how they develop their thinkings with the local, the Taiwan, and the international art scene. And it also helped us to develop like so many different approaches that how we can understand an artist in relation to their lives, their social connections, their artworks, and also what they are thinking towards to their times. Because as you know that artists that they have different creations variously accordingly to different time ages, and artworks is really like an immediate response to how they think about the environment and also the time in their surroundings. And and also because we are, as I mentioned, because we are an integration with the library, so we also started to thinking about the value of the form of archive itself, and then the relationship between how a museum and library maybe can build an art archive together, but also this idea of archive, it can be like a physical archive, and it can also be an online archive, and how can we manipulate the idea of archive between the two, and how is it important for scholars that will be accessed in the future, and also to speak to the general audience for understanding about the development of Taichung art as well. So yeah, there are various things that we started to think about. And we know that there are so many international art institutions, for example, like M+, they've been developing the idea of art archive for so long. Maybe I think in the recent 5 to 10 years, it's really like an important topic in the international art institution. So I think half a year ago, we also invited a scholar, a curator from Korea Art Museum, Seoul Art Museum of Seoul, to share how they build up the idea of archive with us. So, and also at the time that we are thinking about archive, it's really the artist of Wang Shuihe that allow us to make the first step. And Wang Shuihe was very special. I would say, maybe artist. The role of his work is more between make him as an artist, or you can say as a designer as well. And more often, I think he started his career from being a movie billboard illustrator, and then move on to doing artworks and also interior design, and also furniture design, typography design, commercial space design, and architecture design as well. So the spectrum that he actually come across is very, very wide. And we realized that he has a really, his creative works has a very special relationship with Taichung, not only in the artistic aspects, but also in the urban space context as well. And as you can see that all of these are covered by his creative works. And yeah, not only this, but also like the typography design and lighting design, furniture design, even cemetery design as well. So he was very influential from, I would say, after the Second World War, maybe in 1960s to 1990s. And while the museum was actually started to think about the idea of art archive, and also we are thinking about like the to do some of the solo exhibition for master Taichung artists. Wang Shuihe is really one of the figure that we want to study very closely. Then we discovered that all of this information and all of these details are actually not so easy to find. And Wang Shuihe has a son called Wang Wenfang. And at the time that we started to do the research, Wang Wenfang was also in his very like old age already, I think 80 something. And the fact that not only he was old, but also he had cancer. So yeah, it was very difficult for him to involve in the process of research. But that really allows us to think that we have to speed up and also to maybe do some oral history and interview with him in order to have more insightful ideas about Wang Shuihe. And also there is one importance of the figure the figure of his son Wang Wenfang is that Wang Shuihe for his whole life he covers like all these diversified aspects of creativities, but he's actually not an architect officially. He doesn't have a professional certificate of being an architect, but he has built so many different architecture, residential architecture, and also different commercial architectures in Taichung and also Taiwan. And this is because he relied on his son, Wang Wenfang, so much. His son is actually an architect. So Wang Shuihe is more like a designer, and his son, Wang Wenfang, actually designed all this like officially for him. So Wang Wenfang was working very closely with Wang Shuihe for his whole life, being son and also working partner together for the whole career. So Wang Wenfang knows exactly what Wang Shuihe was thinking about and what kind of project he was involved and what kind of like technical aspects that he had been developed. So yeah, we started to collect all the information from Wang Wenfang and then do a lot of oral history with him. And then we also go to different places to see like the different architecture and special design that was done by him in the early days. And we started to organize all these contents into context and realized that the art archive of Wang Shuihe has got all these important diversities that we can focus on. And the total number of the art archive is more than 800 of them. And they include manuscript items or like design draft. And also there are so many photographs and certificates and awards and also like different drawings and writings, so on, that are included. And the importance of Wang Shuihe and the art archive is really the relationship between how an artist's creativity is in line with the development of urban Taichung in 1960s and 70s onwards. And it was the time that the city development started to bring in different social consumption lifestyles, and very much supported by the US Army at the time. So we can see that different lifestyles started to form in Taichung, and these are the interviews that we conducted with Wang Wenfang. And as you can see, there are like so many hand drawings of this that we collected from his family. And then they are really, when we found them, they are really fragile, and then they are like almost broken. So for some of them, we have to spend some quite time to restore it. So this is a very famous cafe at the time. But when we say cafe, it doesn't mean that the kind of like the small cafe that we are going right now. It's more like 歌舞厅 at the time. Yeah, so it's where people go dancing and singing and also having coffee. It's like the very trendy lifestyle in 1960s and 70s. And he not only designed the architecture and the space, he also designed like menu and like cards and all this like brand identity thing. And he even, as you can see, very fancy drawings, and also he designed the furnitures that are used in the restaurants and shops, and also hotels as well. And as you can see that he designed the icons and also typography. And we started to arrange like all the contents, and we also locate the architectures that he actually built with his son around Taichung and also in Taiwan. And this will later go online as a map, as a digital map of Wang Shuihe's architecture that people can go around and visit in Taiwan. And then we also started to arrange like so many interview transcript with Wang Wenfang, and it's in the middle of this arrangement. Wang Wenfang actually passed away last year. So we were quite glad that we start as soon as we could. But then we are at the stage of preparing an exhibition now for later this year. So we have to kind of like restart all this discussion and information with his other family, which is his daughter, to rearrange all about this analysis and information. But this is the exhibition that will come up later this year. And we also started to think about how art archive the content can be transformed into different understanding and different approaches for audiences to understand like a more diversified perspective of an artist at the time. And I think Wang Wenfang is a very good example that he didn't really left like a proper artworks, but his design, his art, and his viewpoint on how architecture design should be actually stayed in all this like archival document. So I think museum plays a very important role to rearrange all this, because it's very, very difficult process. Every case study of the archival examples, I think museum staff has to spend like more than 2 years to rearrange, to do the manuscripts, to do the process of digitalizing like all these documents. And then afterwards, we normally in the process of conducting this, we think about how this information can be transformed and transformed into exhibition or publication, or maybe online archive or physical archive in the future. And also at the same time, we are thinking about how museum can collect part of the archival information as well. I think Gogoro will talk about this more, about the idea of collecting our archive. But the fact that for Taichung Museum right now, because of the funding and because of our special space limitation, it can be quite difficult for us to collect all the archives that we have, especially that the forms of all this archive document, they can be so diversified, and yeah, sometimes it can be quite difficult for museums started to collect them. And then I have a few more examples to talk about. The next one is Chen Xiayu, which is a very famous sculptor in Taichung. And I think many people already know about his sculpture, and he's also very famous in Taiwan. But then when we were visiting his residential place and then also talked to his family, we realized that there is a series of Japanese letters that he have, which was not translated and then not been talked about before. So yeah, we started to do the translation and also the analysis of all this contents, and then started to realize the importance of the social relationship of Chen Xiayu and also the sponsors and also the other scholars and artists. And to know about his social activities at the time, because Chen Xiayu is always considered as quite an isolated figure, that he doesn't really have too much communication with the outer world. But all these Japanese letters really help us to build up more ideas of what Chen Xiayu was doing at the time. And yeah, I think one of the very important part is this idea of sponsorship, because Chen Xiayu was sponsored quite a lot by, for example, Wu Qingyou at the time. And so the special relationship between them and how this sponsorship actually took place at the time was can be revealed quite a lot from this in these letters. So yeah, these are some kind of the process, and this is the actually the letter, the reading of the letter, and then started to find the content and to realize how important the content can be. Oh, and also I want to mention that because all this document, they are not in the public domain right now. So it's better not to take photographs, but if you take photographs, please just remain in your mobile for your own reference and do not publish it in the public domain. And also, yeah, this is another letter. There are two examples of them. And then the third example, which is Chen Xiayu's daughter, Chen Xingwan. And in our last opening exhibition, we started to conduct Chen Xingwan's art archive, because in the process of collecting her works and also restoring her very special works like these installations, we realized that we know so little about Chen Xingwan. Although there are some exhibitions has done previously in some galleries and also some museums, but it's very difficult to know exactly, for instance, that when Chen Xingwan is making this kind of works, how she thinks about the material and the forms, and also what kind of environment thinking that she had at the time. And if a museum like us, we try to build up the work like this, because when we have this work, it was very condensed in a box. So we have to open it and then put the works back into installation. It was very difficult without any photos or any reference on artist thinkings. So yeah, in the process of collecting and exhibiting these works, we try so many methods and contexts to collect Chen Xingwan's detailed document. So yeah, it's also very surprising that she left it a lot of drawings, and these drawings actually echoed to her calligraphy drawings and also installations and other forms of the works as well. And the drawings is even more like organic and more authentic than the transformation of the works. So as you can see that there are so much like organic lines that she was thinking about in her drawings. She was like testing or developing at the time, and she actually drew on like so many papers, different daily papers or different packaging materials that she can obtain at the time. Yeah, and the last one that we are doing right now, it's Ni Zaiqing. And I think Ni Zaiqing is very, very familiar by the art scene as artist, art critics, and also museum director and educator. He was very influential to Taiwanese art scene. So, and also his works were widely collected by the art museums. So when we are thinking about Ni Zaiqing, we thought that if his work is already widely collected by the art museums, and what can we focus on the special relationship with Ni Zaiqing and Taichung, because he's not from Taichung, but he spent like almost all his career time and also his one of the most important career, which is being the museum director, is in Taichung as well. So yeah, we started to widely talk to his family and friends, and then his family was very, very supportive. His family mentioned to us that he actually left it a lot of like archival documents, which are in so many different boxes, and then they just put it somewhere at home. Maybe in 3 years' time, they are going to throw them away because, they are just boxes and no one wants to open it, and it's too complicated. So the family and the gallery cannot really like face it. And it's very big amount of them, so it's like occupied a lot of places at home. So yeah, I think they are really, seriously thinking about throwing them away, but they know the value of the archive. But they don't know what to do with it. So we just, we said to the family that we are really grateful to know this information, and just please pack all the document and send it to us. So here comes like more than 4,000 pieces, 4,000 items of them to the museum. And then I think we are now still in the process like of organizing them. So they have like things of letters and negatives, photos, and then newspapers, articles. And you know that at the time there's no, rarely people use email, so they actually physically write like letters, and then they are sending each other some of the physical documents, and they are all left it. And there are also some of the like very sensitive document, which is more like government official letters and maybe like love letters. And there are so many like private information. So I think in this process, we also have to really define what kind of information that we are collecting, and then what kind of information that we really have to like seal it and then give it back to the family, which is not so ethical to document. Or maybe we document, and maybe there are something that we need to document first, but we cannot reveal it until like sometime later. So yeah, I think Ni Zaiqing's document is like the most complicated ones, but it was very important because he's really influential to Taiwan, and then his letters between like all the artists talking about their ideas of the Taiwanese art scene at the time, and then like so many criticism that took place that was documented in the letters, which were not published at the time. And also there are so many like artistic ideas, and then so many unrealized artworks, the concepts that he was thinking about, all documented in these papers and like some of the writings. So yeah, all this document actually reflect his diversified identities in the art world. And we are, still analyzing it, and then still kind of like relating them now. And I think for artists like Chen Xiayu, Chen Xingwan, or even Wang Shuihe, we are thinking about like all this document can develop into an exhibition to show together with the works. But for Ni Zaiqing, because it's too complicated, and then I think Taiwanese Art Museum already has many of display many of his artworks. So we are actually thinking maybe in the future we can do some publication to contextualize all this information. And I think that will be more concrete of how this archive can develop into. But as you can see, these are his manuscripts and like some of the drawings, like still in very initial stage. And some of the initial concept of artworks that he was developing in a very, very early stage. More manuscripts. And basically the last few PPTs about the methodology that how we approach the art archive. And mostly now we still have we have all this document from family and friends, and then the museum staff will need to spend a lot of time on doing the inventory, and then also to thinking about the right of use, and then sign the contract with the families, and then started to organizing them. And then you will go into digitalization and also classification and so on. And then there are so many like interviews and then oral histories, and then discussions will then be conducted, followed by the digitalization and classification of the document. And then we will start to think about what we will do with all this archival information, whether we will display it in exhibitions, or we publish it, or we which part of them we are actually collecting the physical part, and then which part of them we are like showing in the digital form. So it's very, very complicated, and now I think it's very difficult for a museum to open up the possibilities of welcoming like all the archive to come in. We are still doing it by case to case, and then in line with how we think about our collection and research policy. And also, I want to say that because those 4 artists that they are already passed away, but it doesn't mean that we are only thinking about doing the archive on the like master or passed away artist. I think living artist archive as also has to be like done in line with their creative activities. So so at the same time, we are also talking to some other artists to see the possibilities of working together for organizing the archive and also developing into different form of presentation for the future. And I think for the limited time, I'll be talking to here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was Director Lai Yixing from Taichung Art Museum, just next door on the right-hand side. I just can't wait to see the upcoming exhibition about Wang Shuihe. Okay, so now I would like to invite Mr. Gogolos from M+, and to share his presentation with us. So please welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted and honored to be here, and I want to thank Art Taichung and the Taiwan Art Gallery Association for inviting me to talk about M+ Museum in Hong Kong and archives and their importance in museum practice. Before I do that, I want to say big congratulations on this fantastic project, which very impressively, under one big roof, brings together art and reading. I think it's wonderful for people in Taichung and Taiwan as a whole. So I will start by giving you a little introduction about what M+ is before we talk about archives in particular. So we position ourselves as Asia's global museum for contemporary visual culture, a museum that collects, exhibits, and interprets 20th and 21st century visual arts, design and architecture, the moving image, and Hong Kong's visual culture as a whole. We were established back in 2012 and we opened to the public about 5 years ago. We'll be celebrating our birthday in November. Since that time of the opening, we have welcomed over 11 million visitors through the doors. And we are amongst the most visited museums of the world. I think last year we were number 22 on the list. We have, the museum building is on 18 floors, about 65,000 square meters, and we have 17,000 square meters of galleries. We have a research center where the archives can be viewed by the public, and I'll talk about that one in a minute more specifically. We also have a moving image center with 3 cinemas. We have a mediatheque where you can come in and on demand see about 300 films from the collection. And we have a learning hub and a grand stair, and most famously, the LED facade, where every night from 6 until 10, you can see art on this massive big facade of the building. It's about 110 meters long and 65 high. And we show works from the collection and commissions. The collection at the moment includes over 9,500 items, the main collection. And we have over 67,000 items in the collection archives and over 800 items in the library special collections. On the screen, on the map, you'll see all the different countries that the M+ collections and archives come from. In the archives in particular, almost half, 42% of those of that material comes from Hong Kong. They're by Hong Kong creators. And we have some Taiwanese artists in the collection. I'm just highlighting a few important artists here. Including masters such as Chang Xiaotang. The research center is at the core of the building, is on the tower on the 5th floor, and we annually welcome more than 1,000 visitors. And we retrieve more than 10,000 archival items every year to support people's research and education. Our visitors include individuals and groups ranging from independent researchers, academics, and university students, schools, and peers from international cultural institutions. Beyond facilitating the physical access to the collections, we also organize public talks, sharing sessions, which are designed to deepen the public engagement and the understanding of our archives. These archival holdings directly support internal research initiatives as well, including curatorial exhibition projects and strategic acquisition assessments. I'm showing here the M+ collections website, where we publish new records for the collections and the archives twice a year, in June and in December, following a very well-planned program of archival cataloging and digitization. And as Director Lai mentioned earlier, it takes years for the cataloging of all that material to take place by our staff to understand and assess and catalog the huge variety of items in any particular archive. But what's in the collection archives? I mentioned earlier we have a multidisciplinary scope. We collect visual art, design, and architecture, and the moving image from roughly mid-20th century, 1950s, up until now. We collect in the archives primary sources and raw material for documenting the artist's thoughts and the creative process. We don't collect finished products. That's the work of the collections, not the collection archives. So most of the material is in flat form, 2D form. And it must form a very cohesive whole and originate from a single source. What is very important is also the scope and the volume. And while the volume is not a disqualifying factor, it is definitely a matter for consideration because no museum has unlimited space. And the archives require a lot of storage, but they also require different expertise in care and large resources in cataloging. So how did we start? We are a very young institution, not as young as Taichung Art Museum, but still very, very young. And our curatorial team began building the museum's collection long before the doors opened to the public in 2021. As early as 2012-13, we began acquiring some foundational materials, like Frank Lloyd Wright's architectural drawings for the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo, or some important archives of Hong Kong architects such as Rocco Yim and Eric Lai and so on. So the starting point for us was actually architecture and designs, because the curators, of course, realized they cannot collect buildings. So they have to collect other materials that document architectural histories. In just over 10 years, our collection archives have grown significantly. We now have around 90 what we call archival fonts, or let's just say 90 archives, encompassing an expansive repository of more than 67,000 items. And they comprise of architecture and urban design archives, graphic design, industrial and product design, visual arts, the neon craft and other commercial signage, moving image, and digital culture and technology. And I'm just showing here some images on this slide representing different architects, starting, as I said, from architecture and design, because 70% of what we own out of those 90 fonts comes from architects. So you can see here the Indian architect Rayul and Stephen Hall, Sumit Jumsai, Wong Tung and Partners, Paul Rudolph, and so on. We have extensively collected the work of visionary Asian architects, bringing together materials from all over Asia, from Sri Lanka, Jeffrey Bawa, a very important figure, the Indian modernist Raj Rayul, and Thailand's Sumit Jumsai, to name just a few. At the center of our mission is the desire to build a definitive story of Hong Kong's architecture as well. So for this purpose, we have collected material from regional names, such as local and international names, such as I.M. Pei, Palmer and Turner, Rocco Yim, Tao Ho, and others. Talking about Tao Ho, he is a very important figure in Hong Kong. He designed the Hong Kong Arts Center, and I'm showing this slide to illustrate the multitude of media that an archive can include, and therefore it can be a big challenge for conservation, for preservation, and for storage. This archive alone is over 10,000 items, we think. We haven't counted yet, representing more than 20 projects. It includes slides, negatives, photographs, paper correspondence, drawings, and so on. And going back to Taiwan, we also have materials by two Taiwanese architects. I'm just showing here Wang Chuhua, very important figure for modernism in Taiwan, and again a multitude of materials in that archive. And then Wang Dahong as well, another important figure. Apart from architecture, another important area is graphic design. And within the design field, the collection bridges local and regional narratives, preserving materials that span from Hong Kong across Asia, including Japan, Thailand, mainland China, Taiwan, and other places. But among the highlights is the work of Henry Steiner, which I'm showing here, a true graphic design legend, widely regarded as the pioneer who brought modern design practice to Hong Kong. And through his iconic logos, he created for many of the city's largest companies, such as Dairy Farm and HSBC. He didn't just create design brands, he really defined what we understand now to be the visual identity of Hong Kong itself. And there are other creators in the collection that focus on typography, on corporate identity, on layout, commercial graphics, and so on. And this important figure here, who is the one of the very few early female graphic designers, and very, very important, because throughout her 40-year career, who worked in various fields, including graphic design and art direction, branding, costume design, fashion image design, and I believe in 1974 she also did a long-term collaboration with the budding then Cloud Gay Dance Theatre. And these early projects set the foundation of her future work, which is mostly related to arts, culture, and the publishing sectors. And I mentioned that one of our core collecting areas is moving image. And we do have a few holdings that support that core collecting activity. And this pillar focuses on the moving image and highlights particular aspects of it. An important collection I'm showing here comes from Lambert Lam, drawing from his time managing the World Theatre in San Francisco. He gathered an extensive array of film ephemera. And it's an important archive for Hong Kong because it captures the golden age of cinema, very important for Hong Kong, between 1960s and 1980s. And it brings to life this golden era through a variety of posters and film stills and programs and so on. And last but not least, visual arts. Very, very important and core collecting area for the museum. However, for us, this area in the archives makes a smaller portion of them at present. We house a few key collections that are absolutely central to Hong Kong's art narrative. And foremost among these is the archive of Louis Xuquan, who is a pioneer of the new ink art movement in the 60s and 70s, and a key figure in Hong Kong. His archive contains about 2,000 objects and other material, personal sketches, writings, letters, exhibition catalogs, photographs of his artistic circle, and even some rare audio recordings of his past lectures. So this collection perfectly illustrates what makes an art archive so unique, because it captures the creative process, but also the artist's personal life and professional network. So because of this depth, it has become a very vibrant hub for visiting scholars, researchers, and students. But beyond that even, it serves as a bridge to the artist's sort of living legacy, because every year the museum hosts members of Louis family who return to connect with these preserved memories and materials. And we had a very close relationship with the family in order to achieve this acquisition. I want to show a couple of examples from his visit to Taiwan in 1971. And you can see here sketches of the Sun Moon Lake and the Alishan Railway and even Taichung Park. Some beautiful ballpen drawings. Another important figure is Habik Chuen, and we have his archive that offers a remarkable window into Hong Kong's art history. He was a dedicated sculptor. He was active until the late 2000s, and he was entirely self-taught. He had an incredible wealth of reference material, and a place that he called his thinking studio. He had a deep love for the arts, and he went to many local exhibitions with a film camera in hand, meticulously documenting the changing art scene of Hong Kong. So not only he was an artist, he was a documentarist of the city and the art scene in Hong Kong. So this is an example of an archive where it can actually help us tell stories beyond art. The stories of the city, the stories of urban histories, basically. And today, this collection has transformed into one of the most critical resources for understanding his legacy and the evolution of modern art in Hong Kong. I'm just showing here just a few slides of different materials that we have in that collection. I also mentioned neon signs and Hong Kong visual culture. These archives house a wealth of materials that capture the city's distinctive everyday aesthetics, highlighted particularly by the Neon Signs sketch collection. It contains about 300 original sketches and historic photographic material, playing a vital role in preserving and documenting and actually understanding how neon signs were designed and built by the craftsmen, and very few of them remain active still. So it definitely helps us paint the picture of Hong Kong's cinematic, legendary cityscape. How do we do this? Well, We do it with a team of 10 archivists and librarians. I'm showing just a few pictures here for you to understand the really hard work that happens behind the scenes. So many different decisions deciding which archive is important for the museum, how it relates to our collecting remit, then dealing with practicalities. How big is it? How varied is the material in it? What kinds of stories it helps us tell? And then a really long, painstaking process of assessing, understanding, and describing, and cataloging all of that material. So the work of archivists is actually very different from the work of curators. It's a very long and slow generation of knowledge. And that's why it's quite important. In museums, in art museums, we care about art history. Art history needs research. And archives facilitate that research and generation of knowledge. And that's why there is a big link between archives and museums. Another reason for the existence of archives within museums is, of course, that we need to research art within archives to understand it better, to be able to then display it better, and to facilitate exhibitions and programs. That is also very, very important. And because we value the work that happens with archives and we want more people to work in archives, we have taken some initiatives, and I'm just showing you here one where we've used our Instagram account to tell people a personal story of a member of staff relating to their everyday work as an archivist and how they manage the collections and how they support the operations of the museum, including implementation of exhibitions. We also use a page in a local newspaper to try and tell different stories from the archives to make it more alive, so people have a chance, while they pick up the newspaper, to also find out about specific areas of our work and our collections. It's just another way of widening our access. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gogolos. Now, I would like to invite two of the speakers come to take your seat on the stage so that we still have about 20 minutes for the discussion. Okay, thank you. I would like to, because we still have 20 minutes time, I would like to pass the question first to Mr. Gogolos. So you got your water to drink already? Okay, now straight to the questions. For both of you, you have about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to answer the question, but maybe some of the items you already covered in your previous presentation. So what do archives actually do? What kinds of value and impact do they have for museums, public institutions, and private collections? So for you, as a private museums or municipal museum. And the second one, can archives serve as a bridge for communication and dialogue between artists, public art museums, collectors, and even galleries? So, Mr. Gogolos first, please.
Thank you. This is on, yes? Yeah. As I just mentioned, I think with archives we create knowledge and we assist research, which is incredibly important for our history and for what we want to tell. So in order to facilitate the work of museum curators and researchers, archives are important in building that bridge. That's a simple fact of what archives can contribute. But also in practical terms, artists care for their legacy. And that legacy is hidden in the archive, because the archive tells us about the way they think, the way they've lived their lives, the connections and partnerships that they made with the world, their inspirations, and that is not necessarily apparent when you just look at a work of art or a work of architecture. You need to dive, particularly the specialists, to dive a bit deeper. And if the archive is preserved, then it facilitates that, and then effectively facilitates the legacy of the artist. And we mustn't forget that the archive can offer a very good provenance to art. And with good provenance comes big value, big historical value, but also big financial value. And that's where then, an archive connects with the work of the museum and the art market.
Okay, the word provenance is so important, not only for the public museum, but also for the galleries, even for the auctions. If you have a guarantee of a certain gallery on the catalog of an auction, maybe that will have a more value, as you said. Yeah. Okay. Then same question to Director Lai. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Gogoro has already mentioned a lot about the relationship between art archive and the development of knowledge. And I think in the process of researching on a particular artist, I think art archive maybe plays an important role as for example, like a puzzle that you really can build up the understanding. And I think this understanding is very 3D dimensional understanding of an artist, and also the process of developing the artworks. And I think before, when we do a close study on an artist and his or her work, it's more rely on the perspective of analyzing the artworks from an artistic view and also historical view. But I think Art Archive really build up different approaches of understanding how artists is thinking about and the relationship to the time as well. And I think that's very important for us to know more and then to become more closely to an artist's concept. And the 4 examples that I shared just now, the 4 artists that they are all in very different situation. And our understanding towards to their works and then the way they create, it's also very different as well. And then all this diversified archival document, they help us to develop further, I think, for the understanding of what's going on. And I also think that museum as a platform, we curate exhibitions and we show document. And I think we also paving the channel for bridge for audience to read. So I think it's very important that besides artworks, there are also some more information bridges and then different ideas that audiences and the public can generate by themselves. And then they can read differently and develop different approaches towards artists according to their own knowledge as well. So I think this is very important that how we can kind of integrate and then to weave different information all together.
Do you like to add something?
I'd like to add that we mustn't forget that what we collect is primary material, it's primary historical, in a way, sources. And we use that to tell stories about the artist, the architect, the graphic designer, to understand their work, in order also to be able to interpret it for the public. So it's of incredible value. So if any of you have archives in boxes out there, please give them to the museum and don't throw them away. And we might not be able to accept everything, but at least we have the opportunity to look through. We have a first refusal. It's very important. As for the AI mention that you said earlier in your introduction, I think at least for the time being, and I don't know for how long, the AI can help us make our work more efficient, but it is not in a position to interpret without mistakes at the moment. So although we all have some appreciation of the efficiency that the AI technology can provide for us, the slow thinking and processing, is still incredibly important, and the interpretation that experts such as archivists and curators and others, can offer.
Yeah, thank you. AI is good, digitalization is necessary, but it can still not replace the original archive or original later. And from my experience, at the end, I would like to share my experience with my gallery and curatorial work. About 11 years ago, I found letters from an older painter who passed away 20 years ago. He's very famous in Taiwan history. His name is Hong Ruiling. We called him the miner's painter because he was an academic painter. At the same time, he worked as a miner for more than 30 years. He passed away in the 80s. We got a quite big collection of his artworks. And when I came back from my study from Europe, it was about 100th anniversary of this painter. I decided to organize a kind of exhibition for him, since at the time the governmental museums didn't have, I don't know, didn't have time or maybe didn't have enough artworks to do this kind of exhibition. So I did, and luckily I found some letters from him, written from Los Angeles in his late years to my father. He wrote a lot, not only greetings, say hello, but he wrote a lot about European history, about the role of the female in the European history, about Venus, and about the Asian woman. So you can see the contradiction. And also he wrote about miners as workers and male. And because he painted lots of miners, but he also painted nudes, female nudes. But only a few people know that he got this kind of nude paintings. So on this later, I found that it was his wish to have an exhibition with miners and with the nude ladies. So many years of his death, I organized this exhibition for him. I hope that high in the heaven, he looked down on me and maybe say hello, thank you. Okay, thank you our speakers for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone.